Good morning and welcome. If you just joined us, a very good morning to you. Just after 8 o'clock, it's the weekend, so you're allowed to wake up slowly. It's a moving artist for this morning. We've invited Jonathan Andrews, who's not only known as a versatile photographer, but also a cinematographer based in Johannesburg. He has a school of photography too, established in 2008 after receiving, as I understand, an invitation from the Department of the University of South Africa to compile a course in digital photography. And hence JASP was formed. Good morning, Jonathan, and welcome.
Morning, thanks for having me.
Now, photography as such, was it a passion that began very young, or was there a certain life direction that took you in discovering that photography, particularly that obviously of digital photography in our reality and information age, is where you need to express yourself in, and also take it further as a career?
There was a moment, defining moment as they call it, a few years ago.
Okay.
But essentially it's something that started in 2006 professionally, but going back to about 1996 with the first image that I took at the Acropolis in Athens.
Okay.
And it captivated me to be able to capture a moment, a personal moment, but also something as powerful as that. Started many things.
I can just imagine at the Acropolis. I mean, quite a daunting scene and setting. What was it in that moment that inspired you to take that particular photograph 10 years prior, as you had mentioned, 1996, while prior to 2006, and taking it seriously?
You see, photography is the ultimate way of expressing. And because you are able to express so accurately, capturing a moment of freedom for me was very important, and that's what the Acropolis that time represented.
Okay, a moment of freedom as such. And with that photograph, with that defining point, what did you do with that photograph, or what did you do from that moment on in the journey of 10 years later taking photography as a profession?
Well, the first thing, I blew it up and I made a A2, framed it. And
that must be quite not as efficient as right now. In 1996, there has been a lot of blowing up and
of
manipulation and costly as such.
Well, look, it's something. Photography is an art that develops. Yes, you need the technical information and background and principles and have to understand light, but that's actually the first step only. Then it becomes in a way an inward journey, and perhaps I should add to that, it's good to travel as well, because you have to go and show the world. You have to show people the world through your eyes, basically. And it didn't just ignite and go somewhere straight away. It took a very long time. And the moment that I was able to literally say to myself, this happened at the end of 2005, that for the rest of my life, I want to do only what I love. That's when it really began.
Significantly so, because it is when we focus on what we love as a passion, it becomes, but really focus on it and realize that can be part of our career and our path. It becomes that. But that seems very shortly after you studied photography. As I understand it, when you say you started taking it seriously in 2005, 2006, you had trained in photography principally before that?
Well, that's very interesting. Having worked with a medium since 1996, I developed myself, and to a great extent, I became self-schooled type of photographer.
Awesome.
When I started getting involved in other things, perhaps we'll touch on it now. I worked with some people, established photographers, and especially the late cinematographer Simon Faulkner, who actually in a very great way was a huge inspiration, and that made me see photography in a different light, and I began informally delving deeper and deeper into it. I must have read about, I counted at one point, probably about 100,000 pages on photographic principles and disciplines, etc. The most important objective, let's say, was to develop our own unique virgin style. That is what I've been developing since 2006.
And quite a daunting task as such, because like you say, over 100,000 counted pages of information you've read, and to you would say you get lost in that space of trying to technically understand, trying to move into a space of creating and developing yourself more, how do you bring it back to the self-realization of that is what I see through my eye, irrespective of the technicalities, and what is it that you see through your eye? How do you decide to capture that moment, and does it change? We've previously on the show spoken to an international photojournalist who's covered extensive areas of war-torn countries, and over there, would it be different to separate your self-emotion from what you've captured in that photograph?
Well, look, you take me back to a very intense and interesting moment I had in Palestine in the West Bank about 2 years ago. I was a guest of Fatah, and they took me to one of the refugee camps close to Ramallah in the West Bank.
Right.
And together with a local journalist and a director of Fatah, I was escorted through this refugee camp to see what the situation was like. All of a sudden, mid taking pictures and running some video on the place, a little boy, probably 9 years old, walked up to me and pulled out a gun. And I don't know, the first instinct I had was I shot it. I took 6 pictures of him pulling this gun on me. And it makes you wonder, why? What? You face things like that, and what does it give you? And why do you even capture those moments? It's adventure, but it's challenge. And marrying those moments with the challenge of capturing them in a split second. Those people who know about photography, I love to shoot in the manual mode mostly, so it's not just point and shoot. I combine it with this art form too, of interpreting and expressing light.
I think what you've shared with us is so important. I would have broken down and cried, because I think guns are one of the absolute worst pitfalls of our society, and for a child of 9 to have that. I need to ask you one thing, and perhaps we'll keep that for after the break. We're going to take a quick break, but I think most importantly what I'd like you to share with us right now is, in that moment of snapping that shot, what ran through your mind beside the absolute? Is there a focus on technicality, or when you see this child with a gun, was there a bit more?
I actually discussed this photograph during one of the training sessions at my school of photography, and I use it as an example of how to plan, ironically.
Okay. Okay.
It's such a classic example of a very high contrasting scene that you have to capture. There's a shadowed bit in the photograph, and there's a very light bit in the photograph. And because I like to shoot in the manual mode, which means that you literally manually control your camera, set the exposure, the aperture, shutter speed, etc.
Surprise moment.
I had prepared to take a photograph of the entrance way to this refugee camp. And I had done my settings already, and I was perfectly set up on my camera. Exposure would have been great, so all that was left to do was wait for the right moment. I wanted to capture someone or people entering the refugee camp, and you have to be lucky too. So
I got this child with a gun. I'll ask you next what the child's reaction was to you shooting him with a camera. We're speaking with cinematographer and photographer Jonathan Andrews for Moving Artists this morning. And talking about moving photography as such, we go back to the moment, Jonathan, when you said the young child in the West Bank, Palestine, had come in and, shown you a gun or pointed a gun at you, obviously in play style, or it was all part of that. What was the child's reaction as you started shooting this child with your camera?
Well, obviously, I was far more intimidated than what he was.
Okay.
And
I wasn't sure because you just
it was just threatening. And they disappeared soon after and joined a huge bunch of kids playing and running around in the refugee camp. What was striking to me was that I didn't understand what these people felt. Obviously, going to the place where they live, taking pictures away somewhere that they don't know, they felt invaded in that way.
And sometimes, talking of this incredible art form, there is that sort of invasion that occurs, and the sensitivity surrounding where you need to go to capture these moments. I just think of Animals in the Zoo, right? Looking at all the humans, looking back at them, and reversing that concept. So talking into the areas you've been, the West Bank, Palestine, Israel, Jordan, Egypt, and Uganda. And what was the journey like? Where did it begin? Was it Egypt just recently? Look, and why the choice of these places?
Well, everything actually started with a trip to Israel.
Okay.
In 2006.
Right.
I was part of an archaeological excavation team.
Oh, how lovely.
And the project was to excavate an ancient Phoenician harbor city called Dor. It's at Nachshalim, close to Haifa.
Okay.
On the Mediterranean coast.
Right.
And I started toying with the idea of capturing moving images. Together with my stills photography, of course, moving images.
I like that, moving fossils.
They're moving images referring to the cinematographic side of things.
I'm glad you brought it into perspective.
And I shot and produced a first small short documentary in Israel about this archaeological excavation at Dor. And that led to a very interesting moment, actually. The other night at Toastmasters, I made a speech about this.
Okay.
I felt that I had quite a dull and boring life that I led. And I needed to do something different.
Okay.
And I realized that the solution was in my hand, my finger.
Right.
And one day, not too long ago, I literally tapped my finger on one place on a map. I closed my eyes and I put my finger down on the map.
Okay.
And I promised myself that where my finger comes down, there I'm going to go.
And it was?
Came down on East Africa, Uganda.
Okay.
Started researching Uganda a little bit, and I was very surprised and pleasantly surprised to find that Uganda was home to the endangered mountain gorillas. They said that the source of the Nile was in Uganda.
Beautiful. Wow.
They also, I found reference to a very important rock art site. It's called Nero.
Right.
And this has a very interesting geometric rock art tradition. And what interested me most, actually, was that Winston Churchill said that Uganda is the pearl of Africa.